You know how some people say life gives you signs? Mine came in the form of a broken espresso machine, a delayed flight, and a hotel room with a porthole. Not a window, not a balcony, a porthole. Like I had booked a suite on the Titanic and forgot to drown. My wife, Claire, loved it, though. Said it was charming, which is a word people use when they want to sound like they're having a good time while ignoring the smell of mold. We were supposed to be on a romantic getaway. One last hurrah before recentering our marriage. That's therapist talk for putting duct tape on a cracked foundation and hoping it holds through a storm. I was willing to try, though. I was the kind of guy who believed in fixing things. I patched walls, changed tires, and gave people second chances. Too many, in hindsight. Claire had booked the trip. She said it was a reset. A week in the Greek Isles, bright blue waters, whitewashed buildings, and enough olive oil to drown your guilt in. Sounded good on paper. The kind of place where you hold hands and pretend the last 6 months of arguments were just static. A blip. A season. We landed, checked in, and smiled through the exhaustion. The hotel was perched above a cliff, rooms stacked like sugar cubes on a hill, every one with a view of the Aegean. Ours had the infamous porthole. Circular. Framed in brass. You could sit there and watch the waves roll in like they were bringing secrets with them. I remember thinking, maybe this could work. Maybe we'd find our way back to each other. Claire was radiant in the sun, laughing with the locals, sipping wine like a woman who'd never known anxiety. Her eyes sparkled again, but only when she wasn't looking at me. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. That shadow of disconnection. The way her phone never left her side. The sudden laughter at texts she'd never share. But I ignored it. That's what good men do, right? Give the benefit of the doubt. We gaslight ourselves so they don't have to. The third night, she fell asleep early. Said the sun had worn her out. I stayed up, watching the sea from the porthole, the moonlight dancing across the waves like it had somewhere better to be. That's when I saw it. Not the affair. Not yet. But something more dangerous, the calm before the storm. I didn't know it then, but that little brass-framed circle would show me everything. I woke up before the sun the next morning, my body on autopilot. I went to the porthole like it was calling me. The sea was calm, too calm. Claire was still in bed, her back turned, breathing deep and peaceful, like guilt doesn't have a heartbeat. I sat at the small table by the porthole and watched the horizon blush with the first light. That's when I noticed the reflection. Her phone screen. The angle of the glass and the dark of the room made it act like a mirror. There it was, clear as day, illuminated by the dim light of a message bubble. Can't stop thinking about last night. It floated there like a ghost in the glass. My eyes locked onto the screen, heart doing that strange skip. It wasn't shock. It was confirmation. The kind you don't want but already expected. Another message popped in. Wish I was waking up next to you instead of him. No name. Just a thread of betrayal echoing across the room from a device she probably thought was hidden in the shadows. Claire shifted in bed, murmuring something into her pillow, completely unaware her secret had just walked into the light. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just stared. The porthole, this cursed, poetic little circle, wasn't just showing me the sea anymore. It was showing me the undercurrent. The real trip we were on. And suddenly, the reset vacation became something else entirely. A stage. A trap. An exit. I stood slowly and walked to the bathroom. Splashed cold water on my face. Looked in the mirror and saw a man I barely recognized. Calm. Still. Hollowed out. But steady. I didn't confront her. Not then. See, she thought she was playing chess, but I was already playing escape room. And I had just found the key. By the time she woke up, smiling, stretching, hair cascading like we were still honeymooners, I had already made 3 decisions. I would not yell. I would not stay. And she would remember this vacation forever. We had breakfast on the terrace that morning. Claire was all sunshine and citrus, kissing my cheek, drizzling honey on toast like a woman in love. She told me she booked a sailing tour for the afternoon. Romantic, she said. Just us and the wind. I nodded, sipping my coffee, every word she said floating past me like static on an old radio. Because I had already seen enough. I had a front row seat to the truth, and the show was just getting started. We boarded the sailboat around noon. White sails, polished wood, the whole cinematic cliché. The kind of scene you'd post on Instagram with captions like heaven on earth. Except I was in hell. And I wasn't alone. Because that's when I saw it. While Claire leaned over the railing, taking selfies with her glass of wine, I caught the reflection again. This time, not through the porthole, but through her sunglasses. Her phone was angled just right in her lap. Mirrored in her lenses, I saw the name. Tyler. Not saved as work or do not answer or some clever emoji disguise. No. Full name. Bold as brass. And the messages? Oh, they were a love letter to betrayal. Did he notice anything yet? I dreamt about your hands again. I miss your mouth. Can't wait until we don't have to sneak around anymore. Claire giggled at something on her screen and tilted her head toward me. You okay? She asked. I smiled. The kind of smile you give a dog before you tell him to sit. Never better, I said. Because here's the thing. I could have confronted her right there. On the water. In front of God and Poseidon. But I had no interest in a scene. I wasn't going to shout over the wind or throw her phone overboard like some broken man trying to claw back his dignity. No, I already had a plan. One that came to me in a wave of clarity stronger than the wine she was gulping down between giggles. After we docked, I excused myself, said I needed a nap before dinner. She smiled and kissed me, still playing house, still thinking she was getting away with it. I walked straight to the hotel lobby and booked another room, under a different name. And then I booked a flight. Not home. Somewhere better. Somewhere mine. That night, Claire came back to room 204. But the man she left in the morning? He was gone. I left the room key on the nightstand. Didn't pack loudly. Didn't leave a note. Just took what I needed, passport, wallet, dignity, and walked out while she was sipping cocktails in the hotel's infinity pool, probably texting Tyler something clever about how she was sunbathing next to the pool. Room 418 was on the opposite end of the building, tucked behind a staircase with no view, no balcony, and no porthole. Perfect. A place without reflections. I sat on the edge of the bed, looked around at the sterile walls, and let the silence sink in. No sound of her humming in the bathroom. No fake laughs. No scent of betrayal masked by expensive perfume. Just me. And peace. You'd think I'd be angry. But I wasn't. Not anymore. You ever hit that point beyond fury, where you're not boiling, you're just done? That was me. The man she married had left the building, replaced by someone quieter, sharper, patient. I opened my phone, turned off location sharing, blocked her number. Then I pulled up the hotel's app and did something that felt like justice wrapped in a room service receipt. I transferred every charge to her name. The room, the excursions, the dinner reservations, the spa treatments, all of it. She wanted to play independent woman. Now she had a chance to finance her independence. And then I booked a ticket. Not back to the States. Too soon for that. I needed a layover from my old life. So I picked something poetic. Zurich. Cold, calculated, clean. The opposite of everything Claire and Tyler were. My flight was in the morning. I had 12 hours of freedom before it became official. So I walked. Out of the hotel. Through the narrow, cobbled streets. Past white villas and silent scooters, and old men playing chess under lemon trees. The sun was starting to dip. Tourists smiled. Cameras flashed, and the air smelled of rosemary and old secrets. I'd never felt more invisible, and I loved it. About halfway through my aimless stroll, I saw a little cafe, quiet, tucked between a gallery and a bookstore. I sat down at an empty table and ordered espresso. No sugar. Across from me sat a couple, young, laughing, holding hands like nothing had ever hurt them. I watched them for a second and felt nothing. Not jealousy, not sadness. Just a weird sense of distance. Like I'd once been in that position, but in someone else's life. The espresso arrived. I sipped slowly, savoring the bitter bite. Thought about all the things I wouldn't have to pretend anymore. I wouldn't have to smile at her friends while they glanced at their watches, waiting for Tyler to text her. Wouldn't have to sit through another dinner where she spoke only to the waiter. Wouldn't have to feel her shift away when I reached for her hand. That life was gone now. Around 9 p.m., I headed back to room 418. Claire wasn't there, of course. She still thought I was in 204, asleep or sulking. Maybe she'd spend the night texting Tyler updates. Maybe she'd sneak out and meet him under the cover of night, wrap herself in someone else's promises while my shadow slept a few doors down. Whatever she did, it didn't matter. Because by morning, I'd be gone. And she'd wake up to a very different kind of vacation. Around midnight, I heard the faint thump of a door somewhere down the hall. Footsteps. Then a voice, hers. Logan. It was soft at first, like a cat calling into the dark. I didn't move. She knocked on 204. I knew the sound of that door. 3 short taps. Her version of a Morse code apology. Logan, can we talk? Silence. She knocked again. I heard the handle jiggle. Locked, obviously. Her voice cracked slightly. Come on, don't do this. Still, I stayed quiet. She knocked for a minute more before her footsteps retreated. I imagined her pacing in the hallway, trying to figure out where I'd gone, calling my phone and getting nothing but voicemail. I almost smiled, because I knew what came next. Around 1 a.m., the front desk would get a call. She'd ask if I'd checked out. They'd tell her no, but that a second room had been added to the reservation, one with no guests listed. She'd put it together eventually. She'd storm down in a bathrobe or maybe fully dressed, depending on how panicked she felt. She'd ask for a key, and they'd tell her no. Why? Because I'd removed her name from the booking when I checked out of room 204. She was now a guest on paper only. And in the morning, she'd get the bill. All of it. And I'd be 30,000 feet in the air, sipping cheap airline coffee and watching the clouds rise like smoke from the past. No tearful goodbye. No confrontation. No final argument she could twist into a monologue about how I made her feel invisible. She wanted freedom. She got it. She wanted another man. She got him. She wanted to hurt me? She never even saw the knife coming. Claire woke up alone. That much I'm sure of. Probably rolled over expecting to find me there, still sulking, still predictable, still the man she could count on to be a doormat in denim. But the sheets were untouched, the pillow cool, and the only thing on the nightstand was the receipt. She didn't even have to open it to know. The envelope had that corporate weight to it. Thick paper, gold lettering, and a very long itemized list. Room charges, spa appointments, that bottle of imported champagne she ordered while I was napping. And, of course, the double massage package she had miraculously forgotten to cancel after she booked it under both our names. All of it, under her card now. Courtesy of a man who finally figured out what quiet revenge felt like. Now, I wasn't there to see the look on her face. I wasn't in the room when she realized I was gone, and Tyler wasn't coming to save her from her own vacation. But I like to think she paused for a moment. That maybe, just maybe, there was a flicker of something behind those lashes. Not guilt. Not regret. Just realization. She had played the game like it was chess. But I didn't play chess. I flipped the board. My flight left at 6:45 that morning. The gate was quiet, mostly couples in linen shirts and oversized hats, dragging souvenirs and sunburns. I boarded early. Window seat. No distractions. As we took off, I looked down at the island. The white rooftops, the blue domes, the twisted roads that led to nowhere in particular. Somewhere down there, she was probably calling the bank, arguing with the front desk, scrambling. But me? I had everything I needed. I pulled out my phone and opened a photo. It wasn't of Claire. It was of a receipt. The spa bill, to be exact. Screenshot. Dated. Timestamped. Signed. It wasn't for me. It was for two guests, all right. But neither was named Logan. Because Claire, in her infinite cleverness, had made one mistake. She used his name, Tyler. Signed the form with a little heart next to it. It was almost romantic, in a reckless sort of way. That photo was my final souvenir from our marriage. A keepsake. A reminder that I wasn't crazy or jealous or controlling. I was simply a man who believed too long in someone who had already left. Zurich was cold when I landed. The kind of air that wakes you up from the inside. I checked into a small hotel near the river. No views, no fancy lighting. Just clean sheets and thick walls. And then I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I slept. No interruptions. No whispered late-night calls from the bathroom. No good feeling that something was wrong. Just me. Breathing. Free. When I woke up, it was nearly dark. I made myself some tea, sat by the radiator, and turned on my phone, not to check messages from Claire. She was blocked. But to see if the money had transferred. It had. See, while she was busy building her little fantasy world with Tyler, I was still running the finances. She never changed the passwords. Never thought I would. I guess she figured I was too passive for that. But before we left for the trip, I set up a quiet little nest egg. Redirected funds. Cashed out investments she didn't know we had. Nothing illegal. Just efficient. Half the money was already gone before she ordered that massage. The other half? Transferred into a new account. My name only. Let me be clear. I didn't bankrupt her. I left her enough to land safely. I'm not a monster. But I made sure she wouldn't be buying matching Rolexes with her new boyfriend anytime soon. She wanted to start a new life. Now she'd have to work for it. That night, I took a walk along the water. The lights reflected on the surface like fireflies trapped under glass. A jazz band played in the corner of a small bar nearby. I didn't go in. I just listened. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt earned. The next morning, I got the first email. Subject line, "Where are you?" No greeting. No apology. Just 3 words, loaded with panic. She sent 5 more that day. Then a voicemail. "Logan, this isn't funny. I don't know what's going on, but the hotel says the charges are on my card. They won't let me switch it back. You need to fix this. Call me." There it was. The real Claire. Not the version who kissed me on the terrace or giggled under her beach hat. No, this was the Claire who couldn't believe the toy had stopped playing music. I didn't respond. She wasn't blocked on email. I wanted her to see the silence. That was the most expensive week of her life. For me, it was the cheapest escape I ever made. Zurich was a reset button. Not a vacation, a rebirth. I spent days doing absolutely nothing. Walks, coffee, silence. I checked into a co-working lounge just to look normal, just to blend in with strangers chasing deadlines I no longer cared about. And while Claire was probably trading air miles for apologies, I was trading my wedding ring for a quiet drawer in a safe I didn't plan to open again. Then came the texts from unknown numbers. "Hey, it's Chase. Can we talk?" Ashley told me everything. I didn't know it was like that. Claire's inner circle was unraveling. She must have panicked, started damage control, painted herself as a victim of my vanishing act. Cute. One text came from her sister. "She's a mess. Please just call her. Even if it's just to end things the right way." I nearly choked on my espresso. And things? She ended it the minute Tyler became her bedtime story. I left them all on read. My revenge wasn't noise. It was absence. The one thing narcissists can't stand, the refusal to perform. By week 3, I was in Lisbon. Cheaper wine, friendlier people, and a coastal breeze that didn't carry the stench of betrayal. I got a new number. Bought a secondhand laptop. Registered a new business under my name only. Small consulting gigs, remote. Clean. Private. No more shared accounts. No more, "Honey, can I use your card?" Claire had always treated my ambition like a hobby. Something quaint. While she spent money like it insulted her just by sitting still, I was building something. Quietly. For us. Or so I thought. Turns out, I was just financing the background music to her affair. So I decided to make something of the silence. I started journaling. Not for healing, for record keeping. A book maybe. A memoir of a man who disappeared from his own life and built a better one from the rubble. Working title: The Exit Plan. It happened on a random Tuesday. I was walking back from the market, fresh bread in hand, when I saw her. Claire. Hair tied up, sunglasses too big. That desperate shuffle of someone who's lost weight from stress, but tells people it's intentional. She spotted me. Froze. I kept walking. She jogged after me. "Logan, wait. Please." I turned. Calm. Not surprised. Just ready. "You followed me." She nodded, breath catching. "I didn't know where else to go. You blocked everything. I need to talk." I looked at her like a stranger. Because that's what she was now. "You didn't come here for closure," I said. "You came here because you lost control." She flinched. "You left without saying anything. And you stayed while saying everything to someone else." She didn't deny it. She cried. Not big dramatic sobs. Just those quiet tears that come when you realize the safety net is gone, and the crowd's no longer clapping. "I didn't mean for it to go that far," she whispered. "Neither did I said. "But here we are." And then I left her there, standing in the middle of a foreign street, holding nothing but her excuses. Back in the States, my lawyer filed the paperwork. Clean. Swift. Unforgiving. We'd signed a prenup Claire never bothered to read. She assumed I'd never use it. I was too nice. That's the thing about being the quiet one. People forget you're watching, learning, planning. Turns out, Tyler wasn't the financial upgrade she thought. He was broke, still paying off student loans, and driving a car that rattled when it turned left. She emailed me again. "Let's be civil. We were married, Logan. I deserve something." She got something all right, the bill. I made sure the divorce decree listed every charge from that island trip. Every hotel, every spa service, every overpriced cocktail she drank while drafting texts to another man. She paid for the vacation. I got the rest of my life back. 6 months later, I stood on a cliff in Santorini. Same island. Different hotel. This time, no porthole. No Claire. Just me. The sea. And the realization that the man who showed up to that first vacation was gone. Not broken, evolved. I met someone eventually. Casual. Kind. No rush. She laughs with her whole face and never hides her phone. She doesn't ask for half because she's busy building her own. Sometimes, I still think of Claire. Not with pain, just curiosity. Where did she land? Does Tyler still text her at midnight? Does she check hotel mirrors for reflections she's scared to see? Does she remember the way I left? Not with fireworks. Not with threats. Just silence. The kind that says, you don't get to know where I am now. You don't get to follow the man who finally walked away.